Okay, y'all, so I wanted to record a continuation from last night's video because I'm going to tell you this. Number one, stop telling people not to be expressive with their feelings. And even if I have gone to social media to do it, you know I do that because number one, I feel that, and this is my own feeling, I feel that many of us have never been taught how to express our emotions. And then when we do, we've been taught to suppress them. As a child, I remember when I used to be like, if I would say something like, this is getting on my nerves, or he getting on my nerves, or she getting on my nerves, the first thing that I would get told is, you ain't old enough to have no nerves. And as soon as you get, try to be expressive about your emotions, first of all, we never really knew how to. The only thing I used to know how to do was fall out on the floor. And if you fall out on the floor because something is not the way, you're not getting what you want, then you're immediately told, you immediately get in trouble for falling out. And so one of the biggest challenges that we have within our Black community is always trying to tell somebody to suppress their emotions. We've got to stop doing that. Number one, y'all, we've got to learn how to support our kings and our queens, okay? So I just want to tell y'all, for everybody that was trying to tell me, oh, you don't need to get on social media. Yes, I do. And I'm going to keep doing it. And if you've been following me for a while, you already know how I get down with the get down. Yes, I have a business to run. And if somebody feels that with me telling the truth about life, because we all are living it, ain't nobody living. I mean, now social media is fake, just so y'all know. Your favorite influencer do not post a lot of the stuff that they go through, okay? But for me, if somebody feels like me being expressive about what the journeys of, life, and they don't want to do business, listen, you're not my people. We're not assigned to each other, and I don't care. That's the first thing. Now, number two, let's get into this conversation a little bit more in depth. And I appreciate the responses from the women and the men. One thing I think that we need to do, y'all, is we need to have more conversations about this, about how to be supportive, whether it's a romantic relationship or a friendship, because this doesn't just only carry on into romantic relationships. This happens in relationships with friends, with coworkers, etc. Learning how to be supportive or learning how to insert your opinions if they're ever needed, right? I mean, case scenario, I remember one time my good friend was telling me about a situation, and this is how I've had to learn through the years. My good friend, she was telling me about something. I'm not going to be specific, but I interjected with my own opinion about the situation, and she immediately got upset and defensive. And at that point, I realized, Taria, you just gave unsolicited advice to your friend who was really telling you what she was telling you to be, so you could be supportive. And then guess what happens? Now, because I did that, she may no longer share with me her emotions or her challenges. And this is what we learn in the community so many times. We learn as soon as I open up to you, you immediately block my emotions. And now I don't want to talk about it ever again. And that's what a lot of us do. We don't do it on purpose because think about it. As a child, we were even taught. I remember as a little girl, I used to be like, whatchamacallit is getting on my nerves. I go tell them, they say, well, you're not old enough to have nerves. Nerves are emotions. Yes, I am old enough to have nerves. You know what I'm saying? If I put my hands on my hips or put my arms across, because this is the way that I learned how to express my emotions based off of what I observed, I was immediately told, you ain't old enough to be doing all that. Uncross your hands. You better take your hands off your hips. You ain't even got no hips. Instead, what we should do is learn how to teach our children to be expressive of their emotions. So if you don't agree with me having my hands, then teach me how to express my emotions. Teach me how to talk about it. But unfortunately, in our community, this is what we learn. And we also learn to sweep a lot of stuff under the rug. The reason why some people were uncomfortable with what I was saying last night is because you've been taught to not put your business out there in the streets. I didn't put nobody's business. I didn't tell you the name of the person. I didn't tell you even the woman that he was talking about. And even to this day, I promise you, even though it was yesterday, today, or moving forward, I'll never tell her what he said. I feel like she's an adult, and it is her, if she want to be around somebody that, where he feel, even though she may not know, but if the relationship for them works, it works. That's not my business. Okay, but you're not gonna tell me the only reason why you hang out with somebody for social functions is because she listens to you. What? So anyways, listen, I was just like, once he said that, y'all already know. I suited up for war. I was tight. But let's talk about the whole situation. I will no way, shape, or form tell you guys, in no way, shape, or form tell you that I have always been perfect when it comes to dealing with Black men. And I also know that while I've come across Black men who lack that understanding, I've also lacked the understanding of how to deal with a Black man. A lot of times when we're growing up in our households, the number one thing we're trying to do is survive. I think about the relationship that I saw from my mother and father, which is a relationship, y'all, I've never really ever expressed publicly. Just because you don't hear somebody talk about how they saw relationships and the trauma that they dealt with doesn't mean they didn't. And so I have to sometimes try to put that into account when I'm having conversations with people. But if it's one thing that I can tell you, that most people, and it's not just Black men or Black women, most people, what we want is we just want to be appreciated. We don't always need someone telling us this is what you did wrong or this is how you could tweak that. And I think in some eyes, some people feel like when they assert themselves that way, that they're trying to help. But ultimately what you're doing is you're tearing that person down. Guys, I don't coach people that ain't asked me to coach them. I learned to stop doing that a long time ago. Because some of us out here, we ain't asking for no help. But yeah, I pray that conversation we had last night, even though I ended it with almost wanted to cuss him out, but I didn't. But even though I left and walked off, I pray that maybe it gave him a little bit of insight and understanding, or maybe not. And if it did it, that's fine. We don't ever have to talk again. But I think we need to have more dialect about this. More dialect about how to handle women. As a man, you can't handle me like you handle another man. Don't come bring up another man to me talking about, well, this is what I told him and he received it, because it's different. And y'all see each other differently. You don't understand. And I think even as a woman, we've got to know how to handle our men. We got to know how to be supportive. We've got to know how to love them and bring them up and build them up. All I can tell you is, to my Black men out here, my Black kings, first things first, let me just let y'all know, I love you guys. And as I continue to grow in this space, to every single person I come in touch with, whether you are man or female, male or female, whether you are Black, white, Asian, Spanish, whatever, ultimately my mission is to make sure that when you're connected to me, you are empowered. I've not always been perfect, but one thing I refuse to do is let anybody tear down the hard work that I've put in. Number one. Number two, and honestly, the whole looks thing, that was something because I threw that in, that sometimes I deal with the challenge of people respecting me beyond my looks, because I felt, okay, I don't want to even be presumptuous or assume that the reason why this man that did not know me bought this bottle, but on a couple occasions that night, I had a couple men make passes at me indirectly, and it's irritating sometimes. And so I had to throw that into the whole conversation as well, because it is. And I demand that people respect me, and you can call me what you want to, but I'm always going to be that way. But anyways, here I go rambling. Y'all know I ramble sometimes, especially if I don't have, that's why I got to do my outlines on my talks, child, because I be all over the place. But I still feel how I feel last night, and I'm always share my emotions in a way that I feel can impact, even if it's just one. And so if people don't like it, y'all really don't have to follow me, but I'm always going to be that way. To my future husband, oh, God, gosh. To my future husband, I just want you to know, I'm grateful that God has given me this wisdom through the years to prepare myself for when I do settle down, and has given me these experiences. Because number one, I would never settle down with a man like that, ever. I did it before, and I'm so grateful that I didn't marry that person. Number two, I can't wait to show him how grateful I am to him, how proud of him I am, how supportive. And if he ever asks for advice, okay, great. But outside of that, that's not my role. My role is to be supportive. My role is to love you and to show you that you really matter to me. To show you that your existence here in this world has purpose, not to tear it down. And that's who I'm going to be. So let me go ahead and get back to this training, but thank you to everybody who left those comments, men and women. By the way, hopefully this will, because it's in 11 minutes now. By the way, we need to have more conversations. It should be just about dating and relationship. That's the problem. We should have conversations about just friendships, relationships, family ships. But we need to talk about the underlying challenge that we deal with within our community. I don't believe it. This is why I also always express, like, we got to stop just only having these women only conferences about empowerment, because that's one of the biggest challenges. The men don't even understand how to deal with us because we keep kicking them out of the conferences. We need to have real conversations about this, and maybe we got to trick them into coming. We talk about this going to be the six-figure money conference or something, because, man, he going to need to know some coin involved. And then we say, look, we need to have a conversation, y'all. And we need to have dialect from men and dialect from women. And we need to learn these things, because these are things that we were not taught. That's it. That's all.